that we lose video when the poll's open. All right, so welcome everyone. This is a webinar in a series put on by my organization, the Tiffin-Seneca Economic Partnership. I'm happy to be here with you all today. Our job in a nutshell is to help and support businesses in whatever way is necessary. And so during the COVID-19 crisis, we decided to provide value to businesses on various different topics and areas by bringing in local experts like this wonderful panel we have today on many topics. So today's topic is social media and marketing to help our local businesses. So we, at the end, I will go ahead and remind you of some of the other upcoming webinars that we have, as well as some of the past ones we've had, because you can find those recordings on our website too, if you're interested. So I will go ahead and ask each panel member to introduce themselves and what they do. So Audrey, would you like to start us out on that?
Sure. I'm Audrey Burkholder. I have my own marketing consulting business, AB Digital Marketing. I've been doing this for about 2.5 years. I work with a lot of local companies, various sizes, but usually smaller companies that don't have the need to have a full-time marketing person, so I can kind of come in and help with things that they don't have time to do or the expertise to do on their own: website, social media, a little bit of everything. So I really enjoy the variety of people I work with. So just like it sounds like the participants we have here today, I work with educational, insurance, retail, a wide variety. So my background, I worked at Heidelberg University for 12 years as the marketing director there. So while I was at Heidelberg, I did everything from press releases to website, social media, photography, and a lot of other odds and ends. So thanks for asking me to be here, Audrey, and look forward to hearing more.
Awesome, thanks, Audrey. All right, Jimmy, would you go next?
Absolutely. So hi everyone, hope you're doing well, hope you're holding up during this health crisis that we're all going through right now. I'm just going to introduce myself to start. So my name is Jimmy Flint and I'm the Public Relations Coordinator for the Seneca County Commissioners. I work with the commissioners primarily, but also with some of our other county departments. The county employs about 600 people, so definitely a lot of different departments and a lot of different people and stories to tell from my position. The stuff that I handle, it's anything from media relations, doing press releases to get the word out about what's going on in our office, to handling our social media accounts and working directly with the public, some constituent services, excuse me. And then I also do some policy research and analysis as well. Audrey mentioned working at Heidelberg. I'm a Heidelberg graduate. Actually worked at the Advertiser Tribune for a few years covering police. And we also have another former AT reporter in here. So 2 out of 6, that's pretty good. You'll hear about that in a little bit. But I'm just really happy to be here. Audrey, thanks for inviting me to be on this panel. And I'm looking forward to talking to everybody out there.
Great, thanks, Jimmy. All right, Greg, will you go next?
Sure, Audrey, thanks for having us on again. Happy to be here today. I'm the marketing manager for Reineke Family Dealerships. I've been there for 5 years this April. And I also work with the Downtown Marketing Committee, planning events and kind of helping with that group as well. So we don't plan everything, but we have a lot of experience, so I'm happy to share it.
Great, thanks, Greg. All right, Brittany, you're up.
My name is Brittany Cook. I am the marketing director of Destination Seneca County, which is the visitors services section of the Seneca Regional Chamber of Commerce and Visitor Services. I'm pretty much a jack of all trades. I'm the only employee that is focused on Destination Seneca County. So I'm doing everything from social media to graphic design of our print marketing to everything in between. Like Jimmy said, I'm also a former AT employee. I was covering the government section back in the day, so gotta represent. From there, I was learning to do press releases, which has, and all of that kind of marketing, which has leaked definitely into what I'm doing now. Most of the things that I'm focusing on during this crisis has been chamber related, since the visitor section hasn't really been a priority right now. So most of the things that I'll talk about today are related to the chamber.
Great, thank you, Brittany. All right, and Jeremy, finish us out.
All right, I'm Jeremy Harrison. I'm the founder of Spire Advertising, and I We have offices in Tiffin and in Ashland, Ohio. I'm actually at my home in Ashland, but I am from Seneca County originally. Grew up on a farm just outside of Fostoria. Went to Heidelberg, so I know we have several Heidelberg. I don't have AT experience, but I have Heidelberg experience anyway. Yeah, our focus is helping businesses, typically a little bit larger, small businesses, if that makes sense. And we help those organizations kind of be an extension of their marketing team, or to be their marketing team, to help them with social media and website design and digital advertising and all that good stuff. And our focus has really been during this time helping people make quick shifts to communicate and to stay relevant and not to sound tone deaf with their marketing. You know, when you're communicating in a time of crisis, it really takes kind of a different approach.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Jeremy. Okay, I'm going to open up the other poll that I have. So if all the participants could quickly fill in that poll, our video will stop for just a minute and we will open it back up. So please quickly look at that poll, which is asking which types of marketing you would like to hear about today. So go ahead and give us a click in the poll there. All right. Just a few more seconds here to click in that poll. Doing great. Okay, thanks everyone. I'm gonna go ahead and close that. Looks like most people have filled it. So it looks like 85% social media and 15% websites. So not as much interest in print or radio, TV, or other methods. If there are other methods you'd like to hear about, please post in the chat as well if there's something that wasn't listed there that you'd like to hear about. Okay, thank you for doing that. So we'll go ahead and get started. I'm going to ask each panelist to give you just a brief kind of overview of any tips and tricks that they want to share with you for marketing during this time, getting your business out there during the age of COVID-19. I will start with someone different this time. How about Brittany? Would you go ahead and start us off on this one?
Thank you. I will just start with, a lot of mine are pretty general, I would say, so hopefully everyone else can kind of go from there. Since I'm doing so many different things all at once and I had been doing that beforehand, I find that my advice is going to be very, very broad. The one thing that I have focused on during this time, especially with social media, is consistency. I don't want to post anything that, you know, I wouldn't already be posting. I might just be changing the message a little bit. I'm going to be including the newsletters. I'm going to be including the different things that we're doing, especially like our, we've put together a resources page, much like TSEP. In that same vein, we have to keep posting. You know, you can't just stop. And you also have to provide that value. You know, things are changing, things are much different than they were a couple months ago. And like I had mentioned before, the Visitors Bureau isn't always quite as relevant now. But so that means I am shifting my gears into the chamber, which is very convenient that we're all together, and we can provide that information. So continuing to post. The other thing was providing value. I'm not going to post something that is irrelevant. You know, I want to make sure that somebody can use the information that I'm providing. And we need to focus on the people that we're trying to reach. When I put together our business resources page, I've linked to TSEP. They've already put together a lot of information, but we're also getting information through our emails and, you know, information for employers, information for employees, you know, making that information very accessible to them, but also not overwhelming their social media pages, because that, I think, is something that's really happening nowadays, because everyone's home, everybody is looking at that information. I heard something, I think the other day on the news, that we're spending like so much more time on social media. So I think that's something that we need to focus on, is not overwhelming our public. Because it can be too much info. And I think the last thing, and I would say probably the most important thing right now, is being positive. We're getting hit with so much negativity right now, and every day it's the 2 o'clock wine with the wine. And while that information is great, and I think we definitely need it, we need to stay positive, and we're going to get out of this together. So that would be my broad spectrum advice in this time is if you get anything out of what I've said, is just be positive and keep pushing along.
Awesome. Thanks, Brittany. Let's see. Greg, would you go next on this? Any general tips you have for businesses during this time?
Sure. I kind of have a couple thoughts on some of the very essential businesses, the restaurants and such. I went to lunch today and I picked it up, and I found myself navigating their Facebook page just to figure out their process for the curbside pickup. Do I go in? It's kind of awkward when you get there. You're like, oh, what am I supposed to do? So I found myself going to their page and saying, okay, here's what they have set up. So I would encourage the businesses that, are open and doing things. It's not going to be too much information that you put online, but, put the information there so, consumers like myself can figure out what you're doing, what your specials are. I do know the mayor is doing a really neat campaign right now where if you send in information about meals, he's highlighting a business. Again, all free stuff that's very helpful. At the dealership, what we're doing is we're just trying to stay in front of our customers in kind of a non-sales oriented environment. We're creating videos that we're talking about vehicles that people own, features you might not know. Just, sending those out to the customers saying we're here if you need us, but here's some information about your vehicle for the time being. So kind of essential and, just staying in front of people. So
Great. Thanks, Greg. Yeah, awesome. Okay. Let's see. Audrey, would you go next?
Yep. Just unmuting myself. Just echoing a lot of what Brittany and Greg have already said. But you have to be creative right now with how to engage with your. I know we're doing it on the call, but depending on if your business is still in service, whether it's a restaurant that's changed, like Greg said, just doing pickup, or you might be shut down completely. Don't let the shutdown completely cut you off from communicating with your clients. Find ways, I've seen like Jen Burns is doing like take home crafts that kits that you can do. So maybe it's, stylist, not that you want people cutting their hair or anything, but maybe fun. I saw Bree from Bree & Co was doing little hair tutorials with her daughter. So those creative ways to still engage with your customers, give them something to do while they're stuck at home, and keep your business and your service top of mind when things do open back up. So I've got some other ones, but I'll just leave it at that. Just creativity, and think how you can still connect with your customers during this stay-at-home period. So.
Thanks, Audrey. That's great. Okay, Jeremy, do you want to go next?
Sure. Yeah. So I think one of the things that's so important during this time is we talk in our seminars about telling stories and sharing stories. That's something that works all the time. People connect with stories, and there's roles in a story. There's the hero who's like the main character that we're rooting for in the story, and then there's the guide. There's also victims, and there's villains, right, in every good story. And I think that it's easy for all of us during this time to kind of fall into victim mentality because we all have been affected by COVID-19 in some way. But I think the most important thing that we can do is to not try to be the hero for our brand, but to find the heroes, and go out there and look for what are the heroic things that other businesses, that your customers are doing. What are the heroic things that moms are doing right now as they're trying to balance their work perhaps with their responsibilities as a parent and now a teacher, from a homeschooling parent for the first time. And so celebrating what other people are doing, and so recognizing that there's a lot of heroic things that are happening in the world right now, and that you can be the guide that helps encourage those people along and encourages them to take next steps. So anything that you can do it almost shifts, and I think this is a good thing to do in general with social media, is to not tell your story, but to tell other people's stories, and to recognize the good things that are happening out there. And it may feel, and I love what Greg shared about how you guys are telling stories about things that people have with the vehicles they already own, rather than making it as much about buying a vehicle right now. And so it's hard because for a lot of businesses out there, they need to drive revenue right now. They feel that pressure. But if you can plant those seeds right now and know that on the other side of this, you have not been as pushy about that, but you've just been able to do this, I think you'll find that it really makes up for itself on the other side.
Yeah, thanks, Jeremy. Okay, Jimmy, what do you got for us?
Yeah, so going last is kind of unfortunate because a lot of the points that I had were already taken. So great job to everybody for hitting all those points. So some of this might be a little bit of review, but let me just go over kind of my notes and what I came up with. I guess first off, like when asked to come up with some tips for social media, for communications in general, it's actually really kind of a difficult thing to do because there's really no one size fits all for these kinds of things. I mean, it's going to be case by case, but some of the best advice or most important things that I thought of, one thing, the poll is interesting because a lot of people want to hear about social media, but I think another important thing is to earn media from traditional sources. So instead of paying for advertising, if you can get earned media through the local newspaper, through radio spots, through anything else, try to think creatively and come up with a pitch that you could give to a reporter or give to someone and say, this is what makes us different. This is what makes us unique. So it may be more difficult for someone coming from a private business, but think about your competitors and think about a way that you can differentiate yourself. Maybe it would be coming up with an event or doing a certain promotion. But if you're interesting enough, you can get that earned media, save money on the advertising side, and also be able to get your brand out there. And that kind of leads me to the next point is, what is your brand? Your brand is, what do people think of or associate you with when they see your logo or they hear your name? And so I think that is something you have to think of in a long-term way. And so, one of the important things I try to think about is, speak from a voice that is human and not robotic. Try to be relatable, don't be corporate. And I think you can really do that through your social media to be relatable and to be, we're not just this machine, we're people too. And, the building the perception of your brand is something that's going to happen slowly and organically over time. And so even if you are shut down right now, you can still continue to build a positive a positive image associated with what your brand is. And so really, if you're shut down or you're limited right now, you can use this time to think about creative stories. And, one of the biggest things, I probably wrote it huge on my page, so I gotta thank Jamie, but, narratives, that's how the human mind works. That, we want to hear stories, we want to communicate in that way. And, I just think the human mind generally thinks in terms of narratives and stories. So, I love the idea of finding other heroes, and it leads into another point that I kind of want to, I guess, fortify of what Jeremy said is, what you can do is collaborate as much as possible. And as you collaborate, you're going to touch that person and their network of people who are going to start to become interested in your business. If you make them the star of the story, and if you make them a larger piece of what your brand is, they're connected to it, and they're going to pass it on to their network of people as well. So, here at the county, we try to involve as many people as possible because, by bringing them in and getting them involved, later on, they may see something from someone else, and it kind of spreads like wildfire. So it's a little bit of that type of effect. And I guess pretty much one other thing, social media. I think, I talked about earned media earlier, and if you can do that, I think you should work to do it. But the cool thing about social media is it's an unfiltered way to speak from your voice and to give your message. So I think, try to take advantage of that. And, I think someone mentioned earlier, I think it was Greg actually, if you're a restaurant and you're doing this takeout, don't be afraid to explain that and say, this is how it works. I think these days being very socially conscious is a very good thing. You'll see several commercials. I think Domino's has maybe been doing one where they say, hey, look, we're not touching the food at all after it comes out of the oven. We are, very conscious of what's going on. And I think stuff like that shows, look, we're plugged in, we understand what's going on, we know what it's like, we can relate to you, the customer, the consumer. I think anytime you can do something like that, it's a very big positive. So, I think that pretty much sums up most of the major things that I wanted to go into. I will leave you with this. I work in government communications, and it's difficult to get people excited about what government's doing. But for you have a leg up. You have an advantage because you're doing something that you love. You're doing something that you're passionate about. So tell that story. Do tell your own story, and let people know how passionate you are about what you do. And if you do that, I think your brand is going to thrive and it's going to continue to improve. And at the end of this, I'll leave my contact information if you have any specific questions or want to work through anything. So, all right, thanks again. I guess that's all for me.
Thanks, Jimmy. Those are some really great points. So we really appreciate you sharing those. Okay, we have our first question from the audience now that we'll go to. And I would like to invite the other participants, either use the raise your hand button and we can take the mic off and have you speak your question, or you can type it in the chat box or the question box and we can get those answered that way as well. So this question comes from Taylor, and she's asking, what would you suggest for someone that has a hands-on business? Literally, she practices massage therapy. So what's the best way to highlight massages for the future? So we can speak to this, and then also if we want to generalize to just any businesses that are kind of closed right now who really can't offer their product or service at the moment, but are looking to, as Jeremy said, kind of plant those seeds for the future. And we don't have to go to all 5 panelists, but please add as you feel necessary. So you guys want to kind of raise your hand if you have something to throw in for this topic of closed businesses? All right. Is that a hand, Greg?
Sure. Yeah, I can. The first thing that comes to mind for me is kind of an example. I think just staying in front of your audience, just staying in front of those folks so they know you're there whenever the ban is, lifted, and you're able to do that again. Ford had released coloring books with Ford vehicles on those for kids. So that's a campaign we're going to run just to stay in front of those folks and, be with the mom, the dad, the children. They're printing out, they're picturing, they're coloring a Mustang, things of that nature. So I would recommend a similar strategy, or if it's just, tips why you might need a massage after this is all over, or what a massage can do. Again, maybe a daily post or every other day, just to stay in front of your audience and kind of educate them. They remember you, and then when you're there and everything's ready, you're ready to, get going.
Great. Thanks, Greg. Yeah, I know I saw a hand over here with Jeremy. What do you got?
Yeah, I think the other thing is that recognize that the thing that you do for someone as a massage business is you help them relax. The problem that they have is that they're tense and they're stressed. And that problem is rampant right now, right? I mean, everybody is tense and stressed. And so while you can't do your primary mode of business right now, you can't offer the hands-on service, literally, of massage, you can still be the expert that helps guide other people in finding ways to relax on their own. So if you can go out on social media and continue to be the person that helps them solve that problem of I need to relax, and you can kind of walk them through that throughout this time, share articles. You don't have to write them, find articles that really lay things out, or videos. And some of it will almost feel counterintuitive. Like if I show a video that shows someone how they can relax, and then they won't need my services anymore. But it's actually quite the opposite, that if you can help people and show that it isn't just about selling the services that you offer, but that you just care about helping them in that area, they're going to find their way back into your business on the other side.
Definitely. Yeah. Thanks, Jeremy. Okay, Jimmy. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to add on, because I didn't really mention this before, but Brittany said it before, like you want to be consistent and positive when it comes to the social media stuff. So yeah, even if it is saying like, look, everyone needs to relax and here are some good strategies to do that, or even if it's sharing an article about how, the benefits of a massage to get someone maybe looking forward to, indulging in that when we are out of this thing. I think, any sort of positive consistency, and again, going back to the narrative and the storytelling of kind of what you're going through and really, how did you get here as a business? So I think there's a lot of really great ideas that are being thrown around. And again, just be positive and be consistent, every other day, every day with your message.
Great. Thanks. Anything else to add on that topic? Yeah, go ahead, Audrey.
Kind of like Jeremy was saying, be authentic with who you are too. Like if you're stuck at home with your kids or your family, like show that, and show, maybe some different things that you're spending your time doing, that since you're not, there in the giving massages and doing your business. And just an idea, like if you can partner with anyone, any other local business, like if you have any massage lotions or oils or candles or something that you maybe normally sell directly to your customers, is there a way you could partner with somebody local and then maybe do a video for like how to do a hand massage. Or I am not a masseuse, so I don't know what you would do a video on, but something like that, maybe a part, like a simple shoulder massage for your spouse or something. So I think just being authentic with, be positive, but show that you're going through this too. And here's maybe some of the things you're doing to relax and some other creative ideas that people might be not think of. So
Cool.
Great, thanks, Audrey. All right, we do have another question, unless there's anything else to add to that topic. Okay, moving on. So this question comes from Brandy. What are the best ways to keep your website in the forefront of people's attention while using social media to share your message? So any tips from you guys on how to kind of really funnel people towards your website? All right, Brittany, you go first on this one.
This is something that at the Chamber and the Visitors Bureau we are constantly pushing, is making sure your website is up to date. And that sounds, possibly basic, but that's the first line of defense. A lot of people go to Facebook, but you want to link everything to your website. So again, this may sound basic, but every post that you do, you put your website in it, whether it's in the text, whether it's in you spelling it out in a video, or whether it's in an image. You can control. You can control how it looks. You can control, where the information is. You can't always do that on Facebook or any other forms of social media. So as long as you're keeping it consistent and up to date, and I think as long as you include that in your social media, that's the basic advice that I would give on that one.
Great, thanks, Brittany. Anyone else have comments on this topic? How to get your website in front of people? All right, yeah, I think you hit it really well, Brittany. Another one on that tip while we're on it, and I should say I work with small businesses, rural businesses, all kinds of different things in my job, as well as some community development. I didn't really introduce that at the beginning, but I also do run the social media pages for several different parts of our organization. So one thing that we know, trying to get more engagement of getting people to go and click on things, like getting them to click on a link to your website, get more engagement on your posts. To get it in front of more people, especially like Brittany said, if you have that website line included in there for people to click on, try to build that engagement around your pages, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, anything else, Twitter. Try to get people to comment, to like, to share. The more engagement that you get on things, the more likes it gets, the more comments it gets, the more it's going to show up in front of people. So using social media to get a post out there that has your website included in it, by getting that more engagement, is another great way to stay on top of that. Okay, let's see if we have.
Quick note, Audrey.
Go ahead.
Just one more quick comment. It's important to always put a photo when you're posting something instead of just text, because that helps with your engagement, and then it kind of gets the ball rolling. So to all of your points, and then to always include a photo or something graphic. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, go ahead, Jimmy.
Yeah, I just want to agree with that. I had it in my notes as well. But photos are great, and video is really good too. And it doesn't have to be something that's highly produced. I mean, it can be you at where you work with the 30-second message for people. People are more willing to click on something that has a photo or a video. Another thing is, like, I love this point we're making, and I just want to hammer it home again, is find a way to make it interactive. Don't make it a one-way message, make it a two-way message. So ask a question, ask for their opinion, try to spark a conversation. And you can do that. Put yourself in the consumer shoes and think about what might interest you or your family members, and just try to make it interactive instead of just saying, here's the information and take what you want from it.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Any other comments on that question? Okay. At the moment, we don't have any other questions from the participants. I have some that I'm going to fill in with, but just a reminder, either use that raise your hand button or continue to type them in the question box or the chat box, and we'll get those answered. Yeah, go ahead, Jeremy.
Hey, if there aren't any more, I'll throw one more thought out to what we were just talking about. It's sort of, Jimmy, when you were talking about the video being really compelling, it made me think of this. I think the other thing, and this may be a little bit off social media track, but I think the other thing that you can really do during this time is to focus on as personal of a connection as you can make with your clients as possible. And so you may have people on your team who aren't, they can't do their normal day job right now. They can't do they can't work on the factory floor. They can't do the things that they were doing regularly. And if you could position that that part of your team to say, let's make as personal of contact as we possibly can with our customers. Let's kind of solidify that base and build that relationship, or even with prospects. And so, you know, things like handwritten notes of encouragement that you send out to people, or this falls in the other category that nobody voted for, by the way, but I still think it's really important. And the thing that prompted this with video is that you can send these personal video messages to people. And there's two tools that we were talking about in our webinar in a different webinar that you can use. One is that we use at Spire is called Soapbox. And another one that I've seen a lot of lately that I'm kind of looking into is called Loom, L-O-O-M. And what's cool about these tools is they're free, and you just click a button on your computer, and just like I'm sitting here talking right now, I could leave a personal message that says, you know, hey Audrey, I want to thank you for including us in this webinar today, and encourage you to keep up the good work, and just let me know if you need anything. You hit it and you hit send, and you've sent this video message to people that is so different than the ways that people are typically hearing from you. And so if you can put some of these things together to make really personal contacts with people that truly are one by one, sometimes just those little touches, when you have the bandwidth to do it, can really make a big difference.
Yeah, that was great, Jeremy. Go ahead, Brittany.
This is kind of going off of Jeremy, and it's a little bit off topic. It's still in the other category, but don't underestimate the power of not going high tech. I know that our interim director of the chamber, Deb Martirana, a lot of you know her. She's making phone calls to every single member, and it's taking her a while, and that's fine. You know, we're trying to go through the entire list and make sure people have what they need. So, you know, even if you're not making videos, that personal connection, I think, is the one thing that we need to take away from this. Is, you know, if we're connecting in any way possible, that's really what the priority should be.
Absolutely.
Great point. Yeah, go ahead, Jimmy.
Sorry I keep raising my hand so much, but this is like a good conversation, so I'm just excited to add to it. You know, one other thing, and this is kind of off of something we discussed earlier, but you mentioned, you know, looking at some examples during this COVID-19 crisis of businesses that are doing things, positive things. And I got to shout out AJ's, because I help manage the Seneca County General Health District page, and, you know, the nurses are on the front lines and the EMS workers. But, you know, I got to say, AJ's, they bring a jumbo pizza over to the health district to the nurses that are working on the front lines. And, you know, it gets put on social media, not even from their end. You know, it's something that's went up from the health district's page and a lot of others. And, you know, I've also seen other business people donating pizzas or donating food to people on the front line. So it goes back to that, you know, being conscious of what's going on socially, and I think it's just a really awesome thing. Another thing today, Church and Dwight, they donated to all of the first responders in Seneca County, Tiffin Fire and Fostoria Fire, like a pallet of laundry detergent, so they can, you know, wash the masks and everything like that. So, you know, if it's within your means to do something like that, I mean, obviously you're not doing it for the recognition, but it getting out there, you know, when I saw the AJ's pizza, I'm like, you know, a pizza roll from AJ sounds really good too. And you feel good too, because you're supporting people who understand what's going on and care about the community. So just something to also consider. And I think some of those businesses that are doing that, sorry for anyone I didn't mention, yeah, I love that sort of charitable spirit if you can make it happen.
Yeah, great examples, Jimmy. That was good too. Okay, the next question I wanted to throw out that we get questions from businesses sometimes is which social media platforms to use for what, or which ones should they be on, which ones shouldn't they, kind of any tips for, you know, this is what you should do on Facebook versus Instagram or Twitter, and should businesses invest in those other platforms besides Facebook? Any of you want to jump in on that one? All right, Jimmy, go ahead.
My answer would be all of the above. Try to reach different people in different buckets through each thing, but obviously the message has to change. I think, if you want to reach a younger audience, I think Twitter is probably the way to go. When it comes to Instagram, you can get a little more artsy, you can get a little more personal. You're obviously focusing on photos. From the county's aspect, Facebook is generally an older age group, an older demographic that we're reaching, and it allows you to get a little more long form. But I mean, even if you have varying levels of success, I would still say if you can do it, I would say all of the above, and then over time track your progress and see where you're having the most success, and try to pinpoint why or why not. And obviously, if you're talking about marketing, your investment, your actual investment in each of these things, you're going to want to. It really depends on the demographic you're looking at. So again, I would definitely say, I mean, those are the big three ones that we use, but LinkedIn is another one that we try to use to specifically speak to business leaders and people, young professionals and professionals of all ages. And so, at least from my standpoint, I would say try to do everything, because, one person might only have a Twitter account, and that's where they get their information. And if you don't have a Twitter, you're missing out on that possible consumer.
Great, thanks, Jimmy. Yeah, anyone else want to comment on the different platforms? Go ahead, Audrey.
Think about who your audience is. Jimmy touched on it a little bit as far as demographics. There's restaurants are a very broad demographic where they're reaching all different audiences. But think about your audience, and that can sometimes help direct you on which platform to spend most of your time on. Well, if you have the means and can keep up, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, that's great. But I also caution people not to jump in too quickly to all those. Start with Facebook and make sure that you can manage that. Put together a posting calendar, some sort of schedule to help give yourself ideas, so you're not, creating your page and then never posting on it, because sometimes that can be worse than having all those accounts active and never posting on them. So if you can manage them and have somebody that's willing, or a staff member that's going to help you with those postings, having a presence on all the different platforms is great. But think about who your audience is and where you think you would reach them best, and maybe start slowly and really focus on your Facebook, and then add on Instagram, or set a goal of posting on LinkedIn once a month or twice a month or something. So set some goals and kind of put a plan together. That usually helps than just kind of coming at it and not knowing where to start or what to do once you get into it.
Yeah. I agree. I think Jimmy's got a unique challenge because he has to reach everybody, right? I mean, you have to find a way to speak and be relevant to everybody. And I think that the local government has done an amazing job with that. And I've seen it in different channels and things like that. And I really agree with what Audrey had to say, that for a small business that's spread thin, you start with figuring out who your target audience is. And I think that I would recommend picking no more than 3 target audiences, and sometimes maybe 1 target audience is the place to start. And then figure out one platform for each target audience to start with, right? And say, okay, Jimmy's trying to reach local leaders and business with LinkedIn, and that was where I first saw posts from the mayor and saw different things like that. And so it's working. And so there's different platforms where you can reach different people, and I think you have to kind of there's etiquette for each platform. The way you post on Instagram is very different than the way you post on Twitter, which is different from Facebook and LinkedIn. And so I think it's important to really get good at each platform and establish a voice. And so if one of your target audiences, for the massage business that posted the question, maybe one of your target audiences is stressed out moms, right? who have a lot on their plate, and you want to be a guide to help them. Well, figure out which platform you might reach them, and depending on the age, it might be Instagram. I do still really like Facebook because it's a good catch-all, that if you can only pick one platform and you only have the bandwidth for it, there's a lot of people that are on Facebook, but it really does. There may be another place that's even better depending on who your customers are.
Yeah, thanks, Jeremy. That's great. Go ahead, Greg.
And another thought, like once you determine what social media channels you want to utilize, I'd recommend, maybe like a social media tool. We use Hootsuite, and it just helps us. We're able to schedule things ahead of time, plan out a calendar. We can choose what goes to what channel. For us, it's multiple brands, multiple channels. But say you just have 3 or 4, you could sit down on a Sunday afternoon, schedule it out for the week. You're good to go. It really makes it simple instead of having to log into each social media tool. And then it allows you to have those pre-scheduled. And then when you see something cool or think of something last minute, you can just post it easily, knowing you have everything else done. So and there's a lot of free tools like that you can take advantage of.
Yeah, great, Greg. Does Reineke have any particular audience they target on different platforms? Do you kind of use them all equally? What's your kind of strategy on different platforms?
We kind of use them equally. It depends on the message, though. For us, a lot of like new car ads, once this is over, we won't see a lot of those on Instagram because it's not user friendly for that, promoting a car or a price. So we're just promoting, we put up a picture, I think, oh goodness, it's like Tail Light Thursday or something, and we put a picture of a Ford GT up, and we just asked all of our followers, what kind of car is this? So we were just getting them engaged and trying to see if they could pick that. And it's a neat photo on Instagram. So we would leave Facebook more to the advertising, the true, showing an F-150, what the price is, trying to get that to the consumer, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I pick it. Do I get the car for free? How does that work, Greg?
Everybody asks. Oh, man. A little bit of paperwork and we can get that done, especially right now.
Yeah.
6 feet
I
away.
can take it home today.
Yeah.
Good.
Great tip, Greg. And I think that's another really important point is I think someone mentioned before, making it a two-way street on your marketing as much as you can. Ask a question on your social media, run a poll, run a contest. People love to engage that way and feel like you want to hear something from them and it's not just you talking at them. So yeah, really great point on that, Greg, and a good example of the Tail Light Thursday. Okay, just a reminder to my panelists to either raise your hand or type in your questions, and we can continue to take questions from the group. We've had some good ones already. And yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, like Greg was mentioning with Suite, now's a great time if you're stuck at home and can't do business as usual and have more time on your hand. Now might be a good time to test out some of those tools and kind of work ahead and learn some new tricks and things that might help you once business is back to normal to manage your social media more effectively. That way, you can do it on your own time, like he said with Hootsuite, where you can schedule them out for the next week or the next month, even if you need to. So maybe spend the time back to the website question, updating your website, making sure everything is accurate. If you do blogs, maybe you can draft a couple extra blog posts to have ready to go this summer when things get busier. So use the time now to get ahead.
Great, Audrey. Yeah, okay. So we don't have any other additional questions yet. So the one I wanted to ask that we've had some questions from businesses on, what advice, we've talked a little bit about what your marketing should look like right now and what your message and content should be now while things are, in this weird space with the pandemic and things are closed. But once businesses are able to get to that point where they're notified that they're able to open back up, or they are open again, kind of kicking off that switch back to normal or the new normal, what are some ways, what should their content look like? How should they be, cognizant of the seriousness of the situation, but also really trying to get people back into their stores, back into their shops, back onto their, things that they couldn't before. Do you guys have any tips for how could they do a real social media or marketing pitch as they're about to open back up? Anyone want to kick this one off? Jeremy, you got any thoughts on this one?
I can try. Yeah, I think that I don't think that it's going to be just suddenly back to business as usual. It's going to be kind of a slow trickle. And so that's one part of it, which doesn't answer the question, I realize, but kind of keep that in mind.
Yes.
But also recognize that as it does get closer and closer to full steam ahead, we need to remember that that the thing that has happened has created grief for the whole world at the same time. And I don't mean to be like a stick in the mud or really sad about this, but it's even different from, you know, people die every day from cancer and from disease and all of these things. But this is more like, it's more like war, or it's more like 9/11, or it's more like this collective thing that has affected everybody. And so things that worked before this time will be slightly different after. And so it isn't that you have to like be really somber all the time. You just have to be sensitive about it. You have to keep those things in mind as you're doing it. But I also think that this is different from like the Great Recession that we went through 10 years ago, where it took 2 years to come out on the other side. I think everybody is chomping at the bit to like get out the door and go spend some money and go do things again. And so I also think that if you can give people a reason and still focus on them, that you're going to be able to stir things up naturally. You don't have to kind of like smell desperate in the things that you're putting out there, because people are going to be ready. Especially, I think part of it is that if you can continue to be talking to them now, if you can continue to build awareness and stay at the top of their mind, then it's just going to be a natural thing, I believe, that happens as things open up on the other side.
Great, thanks. Yeah, any other thoughts on opening up? Go ahead, Greg.
And then kind of just, you know, when we do open back up and things get back to normal, I think being cognizant of the social distancing, which I'm pretty sure a portion of that is going to stay. And then, you know, like for us, just making sure that we're letting our customers know what we're doing to keep them safe when they're coming into the service lane, or how we're disinfecting their vehicles, and just kind of communicating that. Because I feel like that's going to provide some, you know, added support and comfort to saying, you know what, the dealership's a safe place to go to. So I think that'll be important, just communicating that message.
Really good point, Greg. And if anyone's curious about kind of what that keeping people safe and healthy looks like, we have a recording of the webinar we did earlier this week with Health Commissioner Beth Schweitzer on our website, where she gives some specific tips for how you can do the cleanliness and the social distancing within your website or within your business. And so go and check out that webinar, maybe get some content from what the commissioner says, or reach out to her, and then you know, make a social media post about that when you're opening back up. Say, you know, here's what the guidance is and here's what we're doing to keep you safe. So yeah, great point, Greg. Yeah, go ahead, Jimmy.
Yeah, kind of like what Jeremy said, I really feel like, you know, we could come out of this. It's going to be a trickle, but I see a lot of people who, you know, we're seeing the federal government step up with unemployment benefits and with the stimulus check. Like, that's millions of dollars infused into our community. Probably, I mean, it's a very large number. And so I think that a campaign, and this may be more on our end from TSEP and the chamber and government, but I think a buy local campaign could really resonate with people, because you think about these companies and businesses that, you know, have been here for you, that have helped, that have donated to your kid's baseball team, or have helped out in certain ways. And I think it's time for the consumer to give back to those businesses. And so when they open back up, I'm hoping that we can do a wholesale buy local campaign to keep some of that stimulus money here, and ask people to go back to work, to keep some or a lot of that money in our community. So I don't know how we do that, but I'm hoping that we can all put our heads together and really come up with that buy local campaign to really resonate with people. To, you know, it's time to give back to these people who have chosen to love our community and give their talents and treasure to our community.
Great point.
Great point, Jimmy. Yeah. Okay, any other thoughts on that topic of how to utilize your marketing once you're opening back up or about to open back up? Okay. Again, to the participants, we would still have time to answer a couple more questions, but right now I want to give each panelist a chance to share how they can best get a hold of you if they want to talk about any other topics that they want to dive in further, or if they want to, you know, utilize any of the services that you provide that they mentioned. What's the best way for them to get a hold of you? And while you're doing that, if you have any kind of closing comments or encouragement for people as far as social media marketing go during this time. Let's see, do we want to start off with Jimmy for this one?
Sure, thank you. And once again, thank you, Audrey, for inviting me to participate. And thanks to all the participants. This has been enlightening for me. I'm actually taking some notes over here too, so it's been really good. Just to close, first off, like I said before, I run the Seneca County Commissioner's social media, and I help, write press releases and get information out to all the traditional media outlets. So I have to do the shameless plug of, go to Facebook and search Seneca County Commissioners and follow us if you're interested in seeing some of the stuff we do. Like I said, not everybody's really excited about what's going on in government, but I would definitely make the argument that it's important to see where your tax money's going and that we're being good stewards and to hold us accountable and hold our commissioners accountable. But I will leave with, I'm always willing to talk to anybody. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to give my cell phone now. It is 419-618-5306. You can call or text me. I'm willing to chat with anybody if they have questions related to any of this. And my email address is jamesgflint12@gmail.com. So reach out to me if you have any questions. I'd love to be of help. Some of the things that we've done at the Commissioner's Office, each September we do a Women in Business Month where we try to feature female business leaders and entrepreneurs in our community. And we try to feature our businesses as much as possible because we want to show why our community is a place that's special and unique and why other people should want to come here. We kind of believe that the pie can continue to grow. We can all collaborate and work together, and that's our hope. So obviously, yeah, I mean, if you have a story to tell, we'd be glad to tell it too. And we work closely with Audrey and TSEP and Brittany at the Chamber. We want to also feature local businesses, and I got to applaud the mayor for what he's been doing on social media lately, just giving a shout out to some of these restaurants. So we love to expand that. We have some talented people who can help you create content too. So reach out to TSEP or the Commissioner's Office or the Chamber, and we can be of help too if you need that kind of assistance. So again, thank you so much. Really honored to have taken part in it, and hopefully we'll talk to you all soon.
Thanks, Jimmy. Okay. Brittany, would you like to go next?
Absolutely. For everyone, you can shoot me an email. It's bcook, B-C-O-O-K, @destinationsenecacounty.org, or you can visit destinationsenecacounty.org or tiffinchamber.com to contact us. One more thing that I'd like to mention that kind of, Jimmy hit on a little bit of our restaurants, and I did want to thank Jeremy for putting together a section of our website. It's actually senecadining.com, but it does link to destinationsenecacounty.org, and that is a website that I'm updating every time I get information, even if I just find it on Facebook, of what our restaurants are doing, specials if I can find them, hours, and that's something that's always constantly changing. So shout out to Jeremy for that. I'm really happy that we're doing that. I actually updated it yesterday. So yep, thank you, Jeremy. So feel free to contact me, especially if you're a restaurant and you have up-to-date information. I can get that on there. Like I said, it's constantly growing and changing. So thank you for having me on this webinar.
Thanks, Brittany. All right, Greg.
Thanks again for having me today, and I'm happy to help however I can. My cell phone is 419-618-2167. Email is greg.dell@drivereineke.com. Or since it's social media, feel free to send a message to any one of the Reineke Facebook pages and I will be sure to get it. Like I said, I'm happy to help, bounce ideas off, brainstorm, whatever that might be.
Thanks, Greg. Jeremy?
Sure. So our website is the hardest thing to say verbally without showing it. So our company is Spire Advertising, and I just wrote it down. So can you actually read that? Spiread.com. And my email is jeremy@spiread.com. And soon, I hope and I believe that we're going to be able to open up our office in Tiffin again. We're right next to the Chamber, right next to Brittany. And so we have an office there, and Lindsay Suey and Dennis Green are both there, and they love helping local small businesses, and I'm over there a bunch as well. And so just encourage you to look us up on the website. We're on Facebook and Instagram and all that stuff too.
Great, thanks, Jeremy. All right, Audrey?
Yeah, if anybody wants to email me, my email is Audrey, Audrey, at ab-digitalmarketing.com. And you can find AB Digital Marketing on Facebook or website, same thing, ab-digitalmarketing.com. So if anybody wants to reach out and needs help with anything, I am around. And I've enjoyed this hour of quiet as my kids aren't here. So.
Awesome. Okay, thank you very much, everyone, for allowing people to reach out if they want more marketing help, and as well as your encouraging messages. And like Jimmy and Brittany said, TSEP is happy to help further with any assistance for social media marketing as well. Wanted to give a little highlight about some of the upcoming webinars that we still have. Tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, we have financial resources and local banks, where we're going to discuss some of the programs, loan options and grants that are out there, and just kind of discuss what's been happening. We want to hear from you as the businesses, and you can hear from us as well. Then next April 21st, next Tuesday, we're going to have one spotlighting rural and agriculture business. Any of those businesses out there in the county, we want to hear from you, and we will have some resources from USDA that focus on rural businesses too. Then on the 22nd, we have mental health in your business. We're going to hear from mental health services and recovery board. I didn't say that quite right. As well as a local counselor about how you can keep yourself and your employees in a good mental health space during this time. We're also working on, we have a weekly business webinar that's going to meet Wednesdays at 10 a.m. We'll see how that time goes for businesses to just join in and let us know about problems they're having, anything they want to discuss, challenges, resources that they need, and to bounce things off of each other as businesses, as well as TSEP and the Chamber as staff to help out as well. That'll be weekly on Tuesdays, again, starting next week, or Wednesdays, I'm sorry, starting next Wednesday. And then we are also putting together a restaurant-specific group that will chat over video next week as well. So with that, again, you can find those on our Facebook page to register. You can also find them on our website, and there are some recordings of the past ones we have done on topics such as working from home, health and sanitation, technology tools, those kind of things. You can find recordings of those as well. So please check those out if you're interested. Again, thank you so much to the participants for participating in those polls. That was very helpful at the beginning, and for joining us today and for some of those great questions. And thank you very much to the panelists for all the time that they have taken to help us out with social media marketing today. I think that this is one of the most important tools that businesses have right now during this time. So I'm really glad that we were able to come together and provide this value for Tiffin-Seneca County businesses. So thank you all very much. Don't be afraid to reach out to any of us for more help. So thanks again, and we'll go ahead and close out the webinar. See you later, everyone.
Thank you.
See ya.
Bye.